All right, we're live.
Good
Good
shit.
shit. I'll post.
Anyway,
Post
boys,
on
what are your
Twitter?
ETH exposures? What do they look like?
Um,
I've got some Ticker Bitcoin and Penguins.
yeah, I'm like
Do you have an
basically the same.
Sorry. Do you have a Infinex account that sticks?
No, I don't.
But if you sign up, you can then pop your again, I'm just shilling all this stuff that I've done, but you can jump over to Infinex and pop your Ticker Bitcoins over there in their app and do stuff with it, I guess. So yeah, if you felt like doing that, you can.
Nice. Never used Infinex, but they have some good features from what I've looked on their Twitter account.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's Kane, I guess.
Yeah.
Stable Shaman just convinced me on it to be good. So
yeah. We like the Infinex. We like the Infinex.
Yeah, I like the dudes. So Sable Shaman works for Infinex, doesn't he?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, no, he's a good guy. I like him.
Doing an event with Infinex in a couple of weeks too.
Wow.
Yeah, what
Sydney.
date is that?
Sydney, isn't it?
22nd. It's the day before our dinner in Melbourne, so I'm like flying to Sydney, flying to Melbourne. It's gonna be.
Oh shit! That's so good.
Oh, it's the 23rd.
Oh yeah, so
I
like
thought it was the 22nd.
yeah.
Wait.
Fuck, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's the
That'll be sick.
22nd is the event, and then
The
the
dinner.
23rd is the dinner. So yeah.
I thought the dinner's 22nd from the chat.
Wait, what? No, it's 23rd. Oh wait, is it 22nd? Nah.
You're talking about the Rossi one, aren't you?
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah,
Have I
it's
got the
22nd.
Oh fuck. Okay.
Yeah, I think there's an actual fuck ton of things on that weekend because I know there's a half marathon as well.
Yep.
Um,
Holy shit ass. Okay. Damn. I won't make the
What is
dinner.
that?
Fuck. Never
Wait,
mind.
what do you mean? What's wrong with it?
Oh, because the Pudgy event got moved to the 22nd.
Oh, right.
Oh, shit ass. Anyway. Well, we could...
Anyways.
Anyway.
Why some dude's doing work outside and I don't know what machine he's using, but I need to shut my window.
Anyway, we should kick this off because we seem to be just talking our normal book. Apparently Tom is stuck because his van doesn't fit under the 2.1 meter clearance at McDonald's.
That's so funny, man. Fuck.
Wait, so he got stuck in the driveway?
Yeah.
Drive through.
Yeah, he got stuck in the drive-through. Holy shit.
Oh my god, imagine all the banked up cars.
We need ya.
Seems like the burgers are enjoying our stream time on a Saturday. Shout out to ZK Gatsu and DGTG Quant. That was a mouthful. Finally a time that works out for burgers. It's good. Yep.
Burgers would be loving it, man, with Trump coming into power.
Fuck yeah.
That'd be
Yeah, they would be.
Maybe that's a good one to start off the topic with. But yeah, what did you guys think this week? It was pretty tumultuous in terms of the hype and everything with the election.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised by the outcome. Personally, I think if Kamala won, you'd have to kind of explain to people that a presidential candidate who was attempted to be killed twice and did 900 rallies was not going to win, which is kind of odd when you kind of put it in perspective like that. What I didn't think would happen so suddenly either was how the markets reacted. I kind of thought that the markets would sell off in anticipation, but then I was kind of like, I kind of thought that the markets would sort themselves out prior to the election results being finalized. But what ended up happening was like we actually got like a very powerful rally across pretty much all assets. Haven't checked commodities, but crypto and stocks. And I didn't think that would occur because I thought it may have been priced in. But it just goes to show that is like a really healthy sign.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much all my thoughts currently. But yeah, what did you guys think about it?
I thought it was interesting, like as you said, like with the market reaction. Um,
Mm.
the other thing was like how stocks and everything moved similarly, and I think that's
Yeah.
like that was more positive. It's not like a purely crypto sort of reaction, because then I would get a little bit worried that it's like, you know, very crypto centric sort of
Reflexivity
yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So
No, that's fair.
yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely think that you know, it was an overall bullish sort of reaction to everything, which is cool. And then
Mm.
like how crazy is like the inflows into fucking Bitcoin ETFs being like $1 billion in like a single
Oh,
day,
dude.
like just
Yeah, that was insane.
insane, right? Like I
It's
couldn't
fucked. Yeah, yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
believe it.
It's fucked. Yeah, generally like it's just awesome to see this level of like tap switch on and everything just kind of like
Yeah,
clicks and everyone's really excited for the possible future of crypto in the US.
yeah,
What did you think, Sticks?
I thought it was good because I feel like a lot of people obviously de-risked into the election to like hedge or whatever they wanted to do. I don't really know, but and then it was funny watching it like on election day how like quick like everyone was like following Polymarket and then how quickly and violently like cryptos would move based off like Polymarket's like predictions.
mm,
So
mm,
it was pretty funny because like they were so far ahead of like the mainstream media and stuff like that. And yeah, and then like crypto was just pricing it in also really quickly. So it was like pretty violent when it happened.
Yeah.
And I was it was interesting because we got to like 74K or whatever, and I was like, fuck, like, and it just like broke through like instantly. So it was
yeah. The
yeah,
Bitcoin move was insane.
a lot of volume, a lot of like sell walls just got like broken through, a lot of shorts liquidated. So it was
Yeah.
no, it was good. It's positive. Sol went up, ETH even went up a lot. So nah, it's good.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Polymarket thing was like super interesting, right? Because like I was like religiously following like Associated Press's like you know, the calls on each state, and like, you know, it was still very like early days on a lot of like where things were sitting, and then like you'd go to Polymarket and like the odds of Trump winning would just be like going up, 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 and you're just like, wow, like the confidence on this is like quite insane. But like there was the one moment where like I think it was Georgia, Pennsylvania, and like a few of those other states were like initially blue, and then like you could see like the odds sort of like reacting to it a little bit, but as soon as they turned red, like, and then that like it wasn't called yet, but it like turned red, like the odds just like boom, just took off like a fucking rocket. And then
Mm.
you know, the last few months of hearing all about like how Polymarket's like crypto centric and biased and all of that, like just kind of, I don't know if it was just like a self-fulfilling prophecy and it was kind of like a correlation doesn't equal causation, but like it evidently had some sort of like signal to it, despite the sort of um, negativity that was sort of thrown towards its accuracy. But yeah, it was,
Yeah, just on that as well. I heard an argument on a podcast by, I think it may have been on Steady Lads like a while ago. They talked about the idea that Polymarket was like too illiquid to really carry any weight in the probabilistic outcomes that people were betting on because
mm,
they were kind of like heavily skewed. I think as time goes
Definitely
on,
not.
we'll probably come to appreciate how intuitive those markets were in predicting the outcomes based on the um, illiquid opportunity for people to sort of capitalize on the probabilistic outcomes, which is like a overcomplicated way of saying that I think people really made a lot of big money over there. I think I did see a post where some guy withdrew like 50 million from Polymarket for betting on a particular outcome. I'll say it's the Trump win, but
yeah,
yeah, I
Oh, I saw
think
multiple like 15, $20 million Binance bets like going on to Polymarket on Trump.
yeah, yeah, and I think what was really interesting is the um that environment was like really cool to watch. And I think Dark brought my attention to this and showed me a few more different web pages to check out with like different states as one, or you were talking about. And he was kind of saying how really cool it was that the states were kind of pricing in the winner as the votes were coming through. And like you said, Wonal, there's a few times where there was like an uptick or change, and then as soon as there was some states that were at like 12% total votes counted, and they were already like 99% Trump, and it was like too early to like it was too early if you were following it from like the Google search Associated Press electoral map type thing. But it was like Polymarket was kind of heavily weighted into the outcomes. I think that was just really kind of cool to acknowledge and watch that.
Well, they also like their prediction markets have been quite good as of late, because they also were the first to predict Biden like running out of the race. Obviously, there's a buyer and a seller on each end, but like those markets heavily favoring Biden dropping out before anyone sort of was like obviously in hindsight it's like, oh, he's obviously going to drop out, but like no one could really 100% confirm it, and they were sort of like 90% confident or 95% confident.
How much do you think like a lot of this stuff is like, because like obviously if you had like a non KYC wallet, but like because it's all like crypto, like on chain sort of based, like betting markets, and because there's so many more markets, like like historically you'd have betting markets, but it's like very linear, like sort of simple bets on things that like generally would have markets for, whereas like Polymarket opens like these very like, I don't know, like abstract sort of optional sort of outcomes to be bet on, and then because of that allows maybe some insiders to create situations where they can make some money just because they have that sort of like inside information and flow.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
it's non KYC, isn't it? Like it's completely like,
well, it's all on Polygon, Polymarket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never used it, so I don't really know much about it.
But like,
yeah, definitely.
GM.
GM.
Hey.
He's in the building.
I thought I'd interrupt because I was like, "Oh, Polymarket."
Yeah.
Yum. Good morning.
This is definitely a Tom topic for sure.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you guys have talked about the fact that the French guy did his own polling. The guy that won like 50 million on Trump did his own research. Yeah. So there was this thing where he essentially he was getting just really junk, like similar results to what pollsters were getting when they were like, who are you voting for? And it was straight down the line. But then he was like, okay, I'm going to like commission surveys. Because you're putting 18 mil on a fucking bet. You've probably got to like a spare few $100K to spend commissioning some research. And then he asked, who are your neighbors voting for? Just based on like signs, and then kind of collab the data. And so to me, the Polymarket thing was like, you're putting skin in the game for people to go find info that isn't being done through conventional methods. Now, I think that there's huge risks associated with that, because it's like, you have conventional data gathering methods that are pretty solid. But in this case, and I think it will swing to the extremes of like, in this case, it looks really, really good. And it's like, holy shit, Polymarket's like is super efficient. Prediction markets, they gave people a financial incentive to go out and actually figure out what's going on. And I think that that's true, but I also think that it can go horrifically wrong, and someone will bet like a few million on something and be like, I did my own research, bro. Shit. So, but it is really cool.
Yeah, 89% of people lose money on it, so it's just another gambling. But maybe most of that's retail, and the 10% are insiders. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, for sure. I want to pull up a screen here. I probably need to share screen with you guys. But there's a Polymarket bet for who will be inaugurated as president. which I find
Oh,
quite-
yeah.
All this is like they're pricing in a chance of him getting shot or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I wouldn't. Yeah, that's a good one actually.
It's like a 3 or 4% chance. I don't know what the actual odds are, but
Yeah.
like,
It's
Or like a
sitting
stroke or something.
Yeah, it's sitting at 95.3% at the moment. I'm just pulling it up now. But
oh my god! Imagine it goes.
it's
Okay, but like, hear me out. What if you're very wealthy and you can pay a lot of money for an assassin, and you're like, and I'm going to put 5 mil on the opposite side, and I've just paid for a hit on Trump, and now I'm relatively sure that there's a high chance that this is going to happen now.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, some shaded Navy SEAL sniper who's like, yeah, fuck it, I'll do it. I hate that guy, whatever. But like, damn, starts opening up some pretty wild shit.
I feel like the dynamics of like what will happen because these markets exist, just like changes how like what we know of the world today like to work. Just because like you can have a market for anything, and then like obviously with the incentives that like Polymarket's giving out now, with providing liquidity on certain bets, like people will take those opportunities. But like there's so many things now that like what kind of like sick fucking thing is going to happen in the future because someone made a betting market for it and wanted to make sure that it happened. Like that, there is going to be some
especially
I did.
KYC. Like,
Yeah. I do think it's pretty nuts that
you can't really get away with shit. But yeah.
I don't know. Like, I've logged in, but I'm not sure if I don't think I've ever put ID in. But
I don't know.
No, it's just
I don't know
because it's all on chain, right? Like it's just like you use your on chain
wallet,
right? But like the KYC factor comes from the fact that like you would probably have to onboard using, you know, some sort
what
of
if you could just make a fresh wallet and I mean there would still be some sort of
yeah. So like
there's
obviously a way around it, like cash for crypto type shit. Yeah. No, I find it. Yeah, I think there's some like super interesting shit there that like could potentially play out.
surely, like if some shit starts happening, they'll just be like, all right, everyone, you got to have an ID to use fucking Polymarket. Sorry, can't have.
I feel like there'll be one like bad instance, and then they'll just like somehow KYC it.
Also, if Trump gets killed because of odds on Polymarket, crypto is going like just sell it all. Like everyone will go from like woohoo, go crypto to like what the fuck? These degenerates were betting on his life. Oops.
Would need Vance to do a Bitcoin conference talk.
Yeah. What did you think of the election, Tom?
I was actually I've been chatting about this with a few people. I very much saw it as the Democrats lost, not the Republicans won.
Yeah,
in that
I
sense,
actually,
like
I actually think that's true.
like they like, but at the same time, I think fucking Republicans won. But like, it very much was this party of them pretending to be the reasonable adults, like being like, no, you can't let the maniac Hitler man in because it's really bad. And they just, how many times do you have to lose the White House to someone that you like think is, you know, immoral and reprehensible before you realize, oh, maybe we're doing shit wrong. And that's a pretty like mainstream opinion. But like, yeah, seeing their Democratic campaign manager the second that Trump got in be like, white men without college degrees are going to ruin this country. I was like, damn, like, knives are out. Like straight away. Okay, holy shit. That's exactly what you think.
Party is? It's like, it's a party now. Like it never used to be like this. It used to be like, you know, working class people, blah, blah, blah. It's literally just a party for like privileged rich people, like that go to like nice colleges, or celebrities that, you know, they've got like the privilege of like caring about social and environmental issues. Like, bro, do you think the person who's like living paycheck to paycheck cares about fucking social issues? Like, I don't think he gives a fuck. Like, all he cares about is like fucking paying his bills, like cheap gas, cheap food. Like, doesn't give a fuck about like.
Well, it's a flip of the paradigm now, I feel like, because for the longest time there was this like a really annoying.
But I say this to someone COVID, bro, when everyone had like money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like everyone like had money, like everyone felt wealthier. They could care about like social issues. Now everyone's like their wages keeping up with inflation. No one gives a fuck. Fuck.
damn, giving money to everyone in COVID was inflationary. Fuck. Shit. That stuff's more,
Who would have thought?
that stuff's more expensive.
They seem
Damn.
currency.
The ScoMo bucks were good though. They were sick.
They were very
Thank you.
The ScoMo bucks.
That's a ScoMo bucks, man.
Pesos.
I was like, I hate this guy, and then I sold my business, and I was literally sitting inside, and he's like, "Would you like $1,000 like a fortnight?" And I was like, "Yeah, all right,
I'll take it."
I don't need it, but like, there was fuck all concessions around like who could get it. It was just like,
Yeah.
yep, if you're inside and technically unemployed, which I was, but I just like sold
But
like
it's funny,
5
like
trucks
everyone
and an
so
entire
arrogant about it.
payroll. Yeah,
Like, everyone was so like, oh, like I feel so wealthy now. It's like, bro, you've lost like 30% of your like 30% of your money has been like debased in the past like 4 years.
Yeah.
Like if you have 100K in
Yeah,
your bank
dude.
account, it's worth 70. Like
yeah, I did. But no, with the election stuff, I just did think like it's a flipping of the paradigm now of like, yeah, as you said just before Sticks, it's like when everyone was like, wealthy and like they didn't feel like they had immediate cost of living problems, there was this idea that like, oh, it's a privilege to like not be able to care about social issues. And it was like, oh my God, like if you're not campaigning for, insert social justice cause here, like that's a position of privilege. You're just walking around pretending nothing exists. But now that everyone's fucking broke, they're like, wait, hang on, I don't give a shit about, whatever flag gets painted on the street. Just leave me alone and let me pay my fucking bills. Hey. And I think that's what came through.
it's just like it's like how we're in our echo chamber on CT. It's like all these like TikTokers, influencers and stuff like that, and like celebrities are all in their like privileged echo bubble of like they don't realize that people actually work like a 9 to 5 and like that's how they live. Like it's not they do some dance on TikTok and get paid like $1,000 or something. So yeah, I think these people just like they have the privilege to give a fuck about like stuff she was preaching in her campaign, and like also she didn't really she kind of fucked it because like most of the country works a 9 to 5 and like actually needs to like have has kids, has to pay for shit. So
I did find it interesting that like the Democrats like had the abortion issue as like probably one of their main like sort of like leading sort of counter issues against like the other party, despite the fact Trump coming out and being like, I'm literally not going to ban it, like I'm just leaving it up to the states and like the states can decide.
And that's like another,
but like the on the if you had a look on Associated Press, like they have the data around because like when you vote, you like vote for who you want like as your president, but then there's like some key issues that like the states like put up as to like things that you can like vote for or against. It doesn't mean that anything's going to happen, but it's like a sentiment poll basically on like something. And the strangely enough, despite the fact that the Democrats held this as such a strong issue as like, if you're voting for us, this won't be an issue for you, but if you vote for them, it will be an issue for you. It was around about 65% all said we want access to abortion, blah 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 blah. But then obviously the election went towards Donald Trump, so it's like even the people that cared about the abortion rights or whatever still voted for Trump. And I either take that as like people saw through the bullshit that like the Democrats party was like pushing, or like they were willing to accept that as something that they would trade off in order for like you mentioned before, Sticks, around economy, I need to actually pay my bills, etc. So it was an interesting sort of like duality between like the two sort of like voting preferences, I thought.
I think it's just like a super like it's very logical. Like celebrities like and think about every single billionaire votes Democrat aside from Elon Musk, basically. Like all the dudes that live in like all the the big tech giant CEOs, like they're all Democrats because they have the privilege of like they're rich already, they can do like philanthropy, care about all that shit. It's the same with celebrities. Like most celebrities from Hollywood, most of them are rich already, they can care about shit like that. So they just don't understand like fucking normal people. I think that's the problem with the Democratic Party now. They just don't get it, like how normal people work 40 hours and they can't even get they can't get by, basically. So it's just like
I think they're a party of luxury beliefs.
Yeah, that's what it's the same. Like all the people that go to like those really prestigious colleges like Columbia and stuff like that, they're all like left leaning. Like they're all privileged. Never used to be like that, but now it's like a party for the privileged people.
Swiss, you were going to say something?
Just to add to,
Sorry, Swiss.
yeah, I was just going to say, I think I agree with everything that you guys are saying with the way that the election has turned out. I kind of think that it's like, once everything dies down and everyone reflects, there's no real point in trying to, even if you were in the position of being pro-Trump, try and tell people I told you so, because at the end of the day, I think people are going to have to learn that they need to connect the dots and understand that like Trump was speaking to people kind of directly, whereas like people kind of saw, in my opinion, through Biden's administration and a lot of the decisions that were made there, like I think the Biden administration, whether or not they achieved anything that was headline in a way that was positive to the rest of the world, that's like probably is there. I might not be paying attention to it, but shit like calling the head of Ukraine Vladimir Putin in like whatever address that was, like there's so many examples of why it just didn't feel like worth even considering Kamala Harris in the election. And I think I was talking to Tom about this. I was like, I'd be very surprised if like Kamala would win, given like everything that the previous administration did, as well as the fact that like, you know, Trump's had like a couple of assassination attempts and is like speaking to the people directly. But I just think now, especially with the push for less disinformation, I do hope that people can kind of realize that you actually just need to put forth more intelligent and smarter people to do better in the future. And so hopefully like the Democrats, next time that they choose to run, they put forth someone like a Vivek, but like a Democratic one, someone a little bit more like, I hope this Trump wins across, like I hope the Trump win across the world just tells people to step up and do better in politics. Like I happened to catch I happened to catch a Australian news correspondent's report where it had the opposition leader Peter Dutton and Bill Shorten, who was the previous Labor Party PM running mate or whatever, and they were just like talking about the outcomes and what this could mean for China and Australia. And then they were like, oh, what is this, when Trump speaks to the audience on these areas here, does that make you feel like you have a really good opportunity next election, Peter Dutton? And then Peter Dutton just came out and said, yeah, well, this government's fucked up because we've got like high inflation. This is the short version, of course. Like, yeah, we've got high inflation. And Bill Shorten goes, listen, mate, like inflation was like 7% when you're in office, and now it's down to like 3 when we're in office. So like, I don't think you can actually really like say that, but we'll wait for you to like acknowledge the fact that it's down under our government. And I kind of like listened to that and laughed, and then I kind of realized something. I was like, I think our generation, as we get older, and I'm just hoping for this, I think it's like not really a high probability, but I hope that we just get a little bit smarter. Like we can kind of think for ourselves a little bit more and look through a lot of this stuff. And I think Elon Musk, with his push for like disinformation and more like accurate reporting through X, kind of like helps that in the future. I think this was like a really long-winded saying of like, I just hope that this Trump win ignites a lot of the losers to like just do better and actually like provide a bigger net benefit to just the people of whatever country that they're running for.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I feel like it's like a
All right,
joke.
boys, I'll be 30 seconds. I'm just watching a race.
Okay, no worries. Good luck, Sticks. Good luck.
I've got money on the line.
I was just going to say, there was a funny joke I saw going around that was like, Trump lost against Biden just so he could stop another woman from winning presidency to be the first president.
If we have any burgers in the chat, can you guys tell me if is it 3 consecutive terms that a president can't run, or is it 3 terms that they can't run? So can like Trump like get
you can
like,
only do
into
2
power
terms total. Like you
I
can
thought it was 3 terms.
No, you can only do 2. I'm fairly certain.
In Australia, you can be prime minister for life. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but
like you can just keep being elected. Like Robert Menzies was prime minister for like 12 years or some shit, like the
2-term limit.
2 terms.
30?
Yeah, 2 terms.
Yeah.
Can he not run again?
No. This is no. And so I was talking about it with my old man yesterday, actually, because he was a bit surprised. I was like so supportive of Trump, but I'm like, Trump makes me money, so I'm going to make money. But what I said to him, I was like, it's quite interesting because like Trump suffered from the fact that COVID happened towards the end of his presidency, and I think that was like such a key issue for why people just wanted change, because they didn't feel confident in like his ability to like manage that situation.
I agree with that. Yeah.
But I think now it's actually set him up so well, because if Trump did get reelected last time, he would have had to have dealt with the fallout of like, you know, the money printing and everything that happened in that whole cycle. And then he would have ended his second term on like a low, because like he would have had to deal with all of these inflation issues, right? But now he gets to come in with someone else having to be blamed for that, and he gets to come in at like the time when like rate cuts and everything are happening, like the setup for like this next term, and like the people's bullish sentiment to being like, well, the economy was great when I was in power last time, so I'm going to make it great again. So like if he finishes this next term and like all of these headwinds are like obviously now in his favor, he could potentially finish his final term as like being president and having like such a legacy of like, he turned it around, he made it happen. So like his legacy will be so well protected by the fact that all of these like headwinds are like playing in his favor. And I think like people
it's like a layup.
Exactly right. So I think it's going to be quite epic, like looking back in history like 10 years from now and being like, remember Trump, like things were so good when Trump was there. Like I can just see that happening with like all of these like key moments, like the assassination, like all of that. Like he will just have like this like long living legacy that's like potentially going to be like looked back on in history as being like so epic, because of like the way that things played out. Whereas if he had like 2 terms in a row, I don't think it would have been the same.
He's like that naughty kid in class that like manages to like just do the assignment last minute and get like a really kick-ass mask, and everyone's like, "Oh fuck, man! God damn it! You didn't even do anything." And he's like, "Well. But yeah, back to what you were like. I'll keep it real quick. But like back to what you were saying before with Labor and Libs. Like Liberals did the biggest stimulus package in the history of Australia by a factor of 3 during COVID, and so I'm like, they gave out over $300 billion in stimulus. And I think just over 75% of it was to corporate, like very big biz with expectation of paybacks. And I'm like, you motherfuckers, you just destroyed the country. Congrats. Like, sorry. Like I was like, Jesus, no. ScoMo's like, oh, fuck, what do we do? Money. Here you go.
Yeah, the Qantas one's my favorite, man. It's because it's like the government's like, Qantas, you're laying off staff here, have like billions of dollars, and the Qantas like, thanks. By the way, we're going to lay off all our Australian workers and hire and export new workers in, and the Australian government goes, okay, no worries. You don't have to pay us back. That's fine. We'll see you in court in like 4 years' time, because that's going to blow up in your face.
There's going to be a class action. Yeah. That was phenomenal.
That was really hard to hear during that period of time. But like, it's a tough call to make. I get why the CEO did it, because at the end of the day, he's got an obligation to like shareholders and shit like that. But like, fuck.
Old Joycey.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? Because he's just gone, yeah, well, we're going to make even more money. Thanks, government. Thanks, Australian workers. And
that's
dude,
what
back to flying after COVID was just a shit show. Like, you wouldn't have been able to get a flight on time. Luggage was missing. They really just didn't really want to like meet the demand. They really kind of like drawed it out before they got to like a functional standard again.
Qantas has just gone to shit as well. Like I've flown Qantas internationally a couple times in the last like few years, and like post COVID, like I've never had a bag go missing on international flights. And I've had it like now twice with COVID, and then my parents had with Qantas, and my parents had the same. And like a lot of other people I know are just like, what the fuck? And I literally flew like budget to Europe. I went with South China Air, and because tickets were $1,100 return, and the cheapest comparative ones were like $2,600 with Qantas. And I was like, is a 12-hour layover in Beijing worth $1,500? And I was like, yes, it is. That's what we're doing. So I went with that. and I was worried that I was going to be like, because I don't know, like I flew Chinese domestic airlines, and those seats are small, and I was like, I really hope the Chinese international airlines are made for people of my stature, and they were, and it was fucking great, and it was basically Qantas but with like little blue like head pillow cover things. Like there was no point where I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely a budget airline. I was like, this is just the economy class. But praying that in a few months we fly in business. From
jets,
here on
bro.
out.
Private jets.
Yeah.
We're going to Monaco 2025.
PJs.
Come on, bro.
I was worried we'd be going to Monaco economy, but it looks like that won't be the case.
I was worried we'd be going Monaco economy.
Yeah, because it's like Swiss. I think you basically called it like, nah, I have a strong feeling Trump will get in, but I like mid curved it and was like, well, there's the abortion issue, and lots of women are going to vote for that, and I don't know. I just think that people have Trump fatigue, and then fucking landslide, and I was like, never have I been so happy to be wrong.
Wasn't that the
Well,
first?
to be fair, just on that as well. I know that he won all the swing states, but I was actually surprised people voted for Kamala. That's how like I wasn't like so blindfolded that like Trump would win. I was like, here's my rational conclusion, and I'm like watching the votes come in, and I'm like, what have people been doing? And then I kind of realized the whole thing with politics, and people vote their party because it's what they do. It's not got really
not
the leader.
Not policy based.
And I was like, that's really interesting that Kamala has votes. So while you think you were wrong, I actually kind of looked at this and thought, why is there even an election happening? You know, like this is a bit crazy, but.
Yeah, it was nuts to me that I'm not sure if this is a correct statistic or piece of information. So Jamie, pull me up on this. But I saw something that Kamala didn't get more votes in a single county in 2024 than Biden did in 2020.
That is,
and I was like,
crazy.
Oh, what? Like she was actually just that unpopular, even with Democrats. Just like not a single place was like, yeah, she's the one.
It was because she was a female, I think.
Yeah,
exactly. Of course.
You know what's nuts? Like I'll go on.
That's all it was.
If you go on TikTok and like you click on videos of like anything related to Democrats, like it's funny because they just outview like anything remotely related to Republic. And this is like the problem with like influencers. They got so arrogant. Like I noticed a lot of those like streamers that stream like political debates and shit like that get paid to just like talk shit basically. And they were so arrogant because they thought like because they have such a big broad audience, and it's like, bro, that does not represent like the majority of people. Like it represents like 18-year-old girls or like fucking I don't know. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah. Anyway,
but
enough politics.
The price action, price action, coins. That was fucking stupid, dude. I literally was just like, as it kept happening, when the results came in, as they started coming in, and the markets like Bitcoin just breaks a new all-time high, and like 30% of the votes are being counted. I was like, if this goes wrong, we are so fucked.
How fun
like,
is that? Imagine it just like was the biggest bull trap of all time.
Legit, I was like, oh, this is gonna be so brutal if it pans out.
I saw some actual dudes with PTSD say that. Like they were literally right, like making up things. They're like, I'm gonna hedge. I'm like, they're actually, some of them were like, I saw some dude back Kamala when she was like 18-1. He was like, if my crypto goes down, at least I win this.
Yeah, I put a small bet on Kamala on the on Sportsbet because I was like,
did you?
Yeah, because I was like, well, the odds are like, shit. So like, I'd rather bet on her than bet on Trump because like, you bet Trump, you don't get any money. But yeah,
I mean, when they blew up to like $20, even I was like, well, maybe I should put something tiny on because if my crypto goes down, at least I'll win a tiny bit of fiat.
Yeah. You put $100 in and you get $2,000 out of it. Like,
yeah, it's like, it's so good. I lost like 50 grand.
Never stop.
Pussies, you guys should have bet on Trump early doors, like my boy GCR did.
GCR, $7.
Fuck, dude.
I'm pretty sure actually Trump was, when he first announced it, to actually be the president, he was like close to $20, but he was $7 to be Republican nom. And like,
on that, just to jump in, I think it's more impressive that he got the Republic nom.
Yeah, because I
generally didn't think he was going to get it. Yeah.
Like, what's his name? The Miami dude was like super consensus as like, guaranteed. But then his theory was so smart. Like he wrote a little piece about it, and he was like, why he thinks Trump will be the like the Republican nominee, because like most people that voted for him, like the MAGA cult, actually believed he was it was like a fraud, like it was a scam, like where he literally the votes were wrong
Yeah.
in 2020. So like that in their brain, like like he should have been like the president. So like they just vote for him again, which was like pretty smart like way of like visualizing it. I don't know how he thinks of this shit, but yeah.
So what do you boys think for like markets like in the next like period? Like is this like is this like are we due for like a small correction soon, or is this going to be one of those things where like there's like corrections on the low time frame, but like the high time frame is just like green candles only?
I think a correction, if we get one, will be previous all-time high support, and then we'll just rip back up. If we get a correction, I think we've broken out. So
yeah.
I sit in the turbo bullish camp now. Like my you know my inner contrarian comes out and is like, well, there's still lots of, and I'm just like, shut the fuck up.
Bro,
this is not the time.
Nuke us, like, we're going up. Like ETH in the next like day or two. Like if we don't actually go down, like it means like new paradigm, because ETH went up like 15%.
New paradigm. Yeah. ETH did go up 15%.
Speaking of Tom,
oh no,
you made a wild post the other day that I thought was very interesting, and the timing of it was just perfect.
No, Tom, no.
I just thought of my next Thursday. Who do you think? It's literally going to be a screenshot of Tom's post, but without Tom in it, and I'll be like, who do you think sent this at the literal lows of ETH? And then I'll have everyone's name in there. And
you should get the soul.
So it'll be like Sticks.
Who marked the generational top on Sol ETH? Who do you think will? No. Like I literally I was thinking about it, and like because I've DCA. He's bringing it up on the screen.
It went viral too.
And then,
holy shit!
It moved, and people were like, "Thanks, retard," and I was like, "Yeah, you know what? I probably deserve that." But I literally like. Some of the best decisions that I have made this cycle have essentially been like inverting my like emotional response to like essentially things that I was planning on doing. And with this one, I was very much like, oh man, like I did have the ETH bull case in mind, but I just literally thought to myself, like I have a like long-running psychological agreement if I don't touch my cold stack until essentially I have like 10k ETH and like 250k BTC. I like the targets on cold stack, and like that was the rule. Like you don't touch those until those price targets are hit. But I literally just looked at it and thought, fuck, if we are going into a new paradigm, I have literally spent the last 12 months exclusively on Sol. Like I haven't made a transaction on ETH in a few months. No, like, but the thing is, it's like on the timeline, it looks like I've just swapped from like ETH directly into Sol, but I just fucking full ported that into like Sol.
We are working. Okay, we're back.
Oh, was that live? Fuck's sake.
Yeah, no, we're so back. We're back. Apologies for the audio issues. I should have just fucking done that before. Oh, so sorry, guys.
No, you're good.
That's why I need new MacBooks.
What the fuck were we were talking about? Oh, that's right. I was talking about how I capitulated my ETH cold stack, which actually wasn't that much relative to what like liquidity I have on Sol. So I was like, it was just a sizing thing overall, and I was kind of like, I'm probably not going to pivot to DeFi unless I have to. So I'm just going to keep playing the trenches, but with more capital. But Swiss, you were talking about how you were like, I'd add one caveat to that.
Yeah, I just think like all the altcoins are just going to rip. But over a sustained couple of months, if ETH is like done like a pretty good period of performance, it's probably likely going to be better than probably most altcoins, because I think the reflexivity on a lot of these like assets that have never caught a bid will probably like go vertical for a couple months and then just kind of like shit the bed and go down and up and just have like high periods of volatility. Whereas I think ETH is probably more positioned to be in a catch-up trade given the favorable change of market conditions. And a really good understanding of this is what I've just been looking at would be to analyze coins performance.
Yeah, I
I think
agree.
coins' reaction to this is like really interesting
How epic was
because
it? The 30%
Yeah, it just went-
move in a day?
yeah, it just went up, but it's also like
Crazy.
it's a very what's the word I'm looking for? It's not similar to ETH in the sense that it's obviously not a blockchain or got base or anything like that. It's more so that it's a very big brand in garnering, I should say, like consumer speculation. So like it's a very good sign to see coin ripping because it means that I think people are coming to the idea that that's going to be a very normalized thing to do in the future. And so I think because ETH is a very safe bet similar to coin, I think it's now going to be like, I think ETH is going to have a little bit of a period of, I don't want to say outperformance, but I think it's definitely going to put the turbo jets on and kind of catch up to BTC a little bit. But I'm probably going to be wrong and miss out on opportunities in Sol, but that's just me. So
No, play the field. Like it's the kind of thing I'm like, that was my decision. I just decided to telegraph it on Twitter for fucking whatever reason.
Never
This
ever
coin
telegraph your
sucks.
big things like
Yeah.
okay. But this was.
By the way, I just
actually
did
think,
this.
like ETH is kind of like where it was back in like Feb last year. I don't know if you guys recall correctly, like back then, but like this whole period here, ETH just like grinded up this whole time, and nothing else was moving, and it was like everyone was like, "Oh my god, like ETH! Oh my god, ETH!" And it was like the Bitcoin was shit, Solana was shit, but ETH was just like grinding up all this time. And then when we hit this like sort of March period here, this is when all the crazy shit started happening. Like WIF went up to like $4 or $5. Like all of the crazy stuff started happening when ETH was going down afterwards. And I feel like ETH's kind of going to do this like same thing again, where like every day it's the only thing that goes up, and every day everything else looks shit. Because I still believe in the ETH wealth effect, and I think like when ETH goes up a lot, everyone gets rich, and when everyone gets rich, they start speculating.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I've just timed the best rotation of all time.
My only caveat to that is there was a lot more ETH people back then, and now there's a lot more Sol people. But like the Sol chart, like obviously looks super sexy. Like that, it's got the same sort of Bitcoin range and like the range breakout, whereas like obviously Bitcoin's like the only one that's actually like breaking out of its like all-time high, which is pretty cool to see.
Yeah, no, like dude, listen, like my read on it, like what you're talking about, Swiss, I'm like, I do think that like if we are in a new paradigm, we break out, like fuck yeah, like you're essentially going to be arguing about like which coin is going up more, which is a very good problem to have. But there's like 2 points that I think of. Like I still look at ETH ETF flows, and I'm like, fuck, really? That's it? That I think that can change.
Did you really say really that's it? When then we had $1 billion inflow in a day.
No, that's BTC. That was BTC. I was like, I was saying Bitcoin ETFs are doing multi-billion-dollar flows, and ETH's still getting like $70 million net. Yeah. So there's that. So like, I think that can change very, very quickly. And I'm very much prepared for like a fucking ETH God candle. But I do think that if you're looking and you're betting on, and this is like a thesis that like sticks, I think was very much like super early too, is this idea of like, it's like even if Trump's in, and you know there's still cost of living pressures, like people are going to fucking start speculating on the coins, and I think that the number one barrier to entry for a lot of total normoids is going to be UX. And when you have fucking like Venmo straight into a fucking phantom wallet, what do you think they're going to go first? They'll get there. Like ETH will get like. I just think that immediate. If you're going to bet on retail participation coming back quickly, I think that Solana is positioned for that upside.
Yeah. So the caveat I'd make here is what's currently doing the rounds on like financial podcasts are like two things. one more recently with like the Trump win. The first thing that started doing the rounds on the podcast that got people interested was people started to realize that you could do things on chain. So like your original thesis when I met you, Tom, for ETH was like correct, and I just think that that now is like making the rounds. I think the other thing that's making the rounds now on the ears that aren't really paying attention to this space is the possibility of a Bitcoin reserve for the US. Whether that's true or not, it's like yet for debate, but the idea is there, and it's starting to be a bit more sort of rigid, I guess. The interesting thing that I'm like now anticipating is the understanding of what is possible on chain. It's no longer like I explained it to someone recently when it was my girlfriend. She's like, oh, I said to her that she has two wallets because she holds
We get it.
BTC
You've got a
and ETH.
girlfriend.
You got a
Yeah.
girlfriend, bro.
Yeah, sorry guys. So I said to her, you've got two wallets because you hold BTC and ETH. And she's like, why do I have two wallets if they're on the exchange? And I had to kind of like pause and then think, like you're an actual like switched on person, but the idea of like actually understanding that there's two different blockchains and two different tokens for that blockchain is like still new. I think what will get people in this space is the idea that there is like a world beyond the exchange. So I think like an app like Infinex is such a good
Hell yeah.
headline app that will get people on chain, because I think that's where the upside and retail participation goes. I don't necessarily like, I think the idea of people buying coins because they want to speculate and make money is always going to be there. I just think it's like not really that cool to think like that anymore, because it's like the Trump change of administration now brings the idea that on-chain things to be done like DeFi and all that sort of stuff can now be supported a lot more. And so yeah, like memes will probably do well. It's just like I don't know if I can really be bothered to try and like come up with any sort of rationale to think that, oh yeah, just because like this app is like consumer facing, people can find a way to lose money on this a little bit easier. Whereas like the idea of people investing in the space is like something that they might liken to. Like I think the probability of people, and like we picked this up when we went to the collective shift event, Tom. Like there was so many adults there that were just like, oh yeah, well it's the meme coin super cycle. Like this is it. This is what we got to invest in. I'm trying to get my like kids involved with it. And I'm just like thinking to myself, I don't think that's really like the future. I think the future is like, oh, I have a portfolio of like things that do things on chain. But I'm gonna not make money with this idea, of course. But like, it's just I think the Trump administration and is like the turning point for that to exist. I think on-chain Sol could do really well if it moved away from this identity of like pump.fun and actually moved to something else like a consumer app. But in the meantime, I think the ETH ETF was like premature. I think there was something that sort of changed the shift, and I think it was to do with the election coming up, and that's why we had that like God candle and that skew of like probability change that came from those ETF analysts that you were talking to, Tom. And so I just think that the ETF for ETH was like premature, and I think the flows will come. But the other thing too is that ETH will have flows and Sol won't, in my opinion.
Yeah, true.
And that's where I think ETH has that opportunity to really do some solid outperformance. Even if like Sol beats ETH, I still think that the ETH investment now is like more probable for upside than trying to invest into Sol. Because again, I always stand with the idea that like if you were early to Sol, when Z was shilling at our Z, and you farmed and bought a few meme coins back in like 2022, early 2023, and then sell all in like April this year, I don't think that outperformance is left there for Sol anymore. Unless you're really like in the trenches trying to hit 100x's, but I could be wrong.
Is it time for me to make a Twitter post about fucking rotating my Sol back to ETH?
You should.
Hey guys, I'm back, and then it nukes 12%. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to stop posting. I'm going to stop posting about any moves.
Yeah, I think,
dude,
I'm
with you there. Like,
I was just gonna say, I think maybe the counter to that would be like, I agree with the consumer facing app thing, but I think like the consumer like I feel like that's the longer term strat. So I feel like if you're gonna hold something for like the next 5-10 years, like definitely like ETH probably makes a lot of sense because it's like battle tested. It's, you know, less VC sort of like gonna dump on you type thing if you wanted to make an investment. Whereas like if you think about how you're going to onboard users now, with like most of what we've got. Like the stories of, hey, I put $1,000 into this and now I've got like $60,000. Like that's what makes someone that's probably skeptical about crypto in general maybe being like, fuck it, yeah, I don't mind, you know, risking something small for a huge upside. Whereas like trying to entice them with like, hey, if you invest in Bitcoin, ETH or Sol, like you might get a 2 or 4x. They go, yeah, but I can't be bothered. But if it's like, hey, if you buy these memes, like you could get a lot more. And memes aren't only strictly based on Sol, because obviously like ETH memes have done well with like SPX and like Bitcoin and whatnot. Ticker Bitcoin, sorry. But I think the multi-chain sort of approach to meme coins is going to be the bigger thing. And I think we were talking.
Yeah, I agree.
Before the show, Swiss, you were talking about like Pre-Rich, the app, and then I was talking about Rally. I feel like those apps are going to make what chain you're using so abstracted away from the end user that like the chain, you know, agnostic sort of view of everything will be more applicable. And like the chain is really just representing the infra, but like the consumer facing apps will be so chain agnostic that like you won't even realize what chain you're sort of buying shit on. Like even like Phantom now, like you can hold Bitcoin, Solana, ETH, base ETH, like everything on it. And like to the end user, it feels like it's all one wallet. But like to us who have like experienced what it's like to have shitty MetaMask wallets and that, like you know that there's separate things. But I think the new users won't even realize that they're doing different things on different chains.
I agree, but they will know what they're investing in.
They will.
Is,
yeah.
Yeah, and so I think, look, I really don't think that, because everyone's argument when it comes back to like memes is that the valuation of them can be a lot higher, and they always give examples of like Doge and SHIB. I still think that there is a high probability that some of those will get to those valuations, but like I don't know of anyone that hit SHIB from the bottom and sold at the top. And so I think the extrapolation of these assets is like highly probable given the fact that like liquidity is so low and your ability to, let's be honest, move markets. If you and a couple of friends snipe a supply and it's got enough liquidity to sort of sustain for a couple of days, you can really do some damage on Twitter to like pump it. But I think memes as a whole will continue to eat itself.
For sure.
Whereas like I think the people who want to make a quick buck will always be there. But I think memes are just as what's the word I'm looking for? Just as saturated as the idea of BTC. So people have heard BTC and memes in the same sentence as well. And so I just think that now it's like an old joke for me. And this is probably why I won't make it, because the new people will come and be like, I love memes, and just start buying everything and anything. But like I listened to the Steady Lads podcast this morning, and you can kind of hear, it's like a really good read on sentiment when Taiki's talking about memes and Justin's talking about ETH. And then there's always like the middle ground of like that. And I think everyone's consensus is now it's like, oh, I'll bid the strong consensus, like meme coins and stuff like that. I don't know. I just think it's up in the air. Like I think that like Styx has like the perfect portfolio. I think that's like the best barbell strategy I've heard of. It's just that I no longer fear the idea that an ETH pump marks a top in this current regime change.
I agree.
Well, in the next 2 days we'll find out. If it doesn't, well, it's
yeah.
Honestly, if it doesn't go down, like it'll just keep going up, I reckon. I'll flip ETH bullish.
I think there's also like two types of people too. There's like the type of person that wants to invest and sees investments as like an investment, and then there's people that are chasing quick money and that want to escape the matrix, all that fucking bullshit that like we say to each other is like.
There's a lot of people out there like that, believe me.
And I'll happily take the matrix people's money. That is no problem.
For
me.
But yeah, I think those investor types that actually want to invest, like they they're the longer term staying people, and they're probably the people you want.
BRB watching a race.
But like the shorter term, like, hey, I'm gonna throw a couple $100 in this and then hopefully turn this into a few thousand. Like that when the bull market comes, like that's what made NFTs exciting. That's what made meme coins exciting. But I think all of it is just a way to battle test the actual technology, right? Like, so if memes is what brings people in, but then they stay for the technology and they stay for the ethos of like the ecosystem and everything, great, because then like that it pushes the longevity of like the technology out, and then like the investments start making sense then. And I think that's probably what will happen over time, is like memes will be like, oh, that was, they'll be looked back on like NFTs are looked back on now. But like all of the stuff that came because of the capital that came in from it is better than having like a whole bunch of chains that like, yeah, you can transact on, but what the fuck are you going to do with it? I'm going to park my money in for like a yield and then like, okay, cool, now what do I do? Whereas like memes keep that like constant activity because it's like a short-term dopamine induced type scenario. That's not going to be the future, but it's good now for, you know, the chains to actually get usage, and then until such time a good consumer facing app comes and bang, like, you know, everything takes off. Something like Polymarket, for example.
Yeah,
Well, that's what I think of like when I think of like the ETH trade, and I think of like the actual the conceptual barriers that there are to people who would come in and invest. I still think that we haven't gotten past, at least for like, you know, people that are listening to investing podcasts, people that are actually like switched on about what they want to invest in, especially guys that are coming from TradFi that are looking at this with valuation models and actually thinking about upside instead of like, haha, I buy coin, it go up. Like there needs to be, I still think like there's still a maturity issue in terms of product and tech of like ETH, I think, like funnily enough, like as someone who's just capitulated their cold storage ETH, I do think that has one of the better value props for those kinds of people, because they see it as the decentralized network upon which everything, like the next big thing could be built. And so you're just gaining baseline exposure to that by owning the native token. Especially if you're unaware of the dynamics with L2s and all of the kind of conflicting incentives and liquidity fragmentation that comes along with the L2 roadmap at the moment. But I still think there's something along the lines of like people are still going to be confused by what the fuck is even happening in this space, and like what it is that they're actually buying. And I think that, yeah, like, and I say this with like no derogatory shit meant, but it's just like left curve will be memes, mid curve will be like ETH and like really, really basic ETH eco, and then right curve will be probably something that none of us are aware of right now. Like there will be something that comes out of it that's ridiculous.
A product that doesn't have a token like Polymart.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like it's that kind of thing of like right curves using the tech to deliver something in a way that's like, and they're making profits like an actual business, and it's useful, and it's just like, oh well, why is there a token? We don't fucking need one. Just use the goddamn product. So fucking A-Sticks, thanks for coming in and saving my ramble there. That was good. Nice. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on it. But I do think that we've gone from meme coin super cycle to a much more, and again, I do not mean it in a derogatory sense, but just like using it as like a typical kind of like line in the sand, but like mid-curve super cycle of like future of decentralized finance is back. Let's go.
Taiki doing a whole video like 2 days ago on why he's pivoted to meme coins. That was like, I wanted to sell everything and just go into like,
same.
I just wanted to like go full port into like Ripple and ADA at that point. I'm just like,
we love you, Taiki. We're sorry. But it's true.
Yeah.
Well, I did actually have that's a fun thing. Shameless self plug. I had Andy Ayrey on the NGMI pod, so I'm going to publish that Monday. The guy behind Truth Terminal, the dev. He's great, man. He's a really just like chilled out guy from New Zealand that's just kind of like hanging out and experimenting with AI. But no, he gave me heaps of good background into how like Truth Terminal works. Like essentially why it's so horny. all the time, and all this other shit that I was like, that's fucking hilarious. Like I found it. I'm not a huge AI guy, so no, it's just really good to like actually speak with the guy and be like, what the fuck is going on with that? So yeah,
That's sick.
That's pretty
fucking
cool,
awesome.
Tom. That's pretty cool. I do like what you're
I'll
doing.
have to
there.
give it-
Yeah.
I'll have to give it. Yeah, I'll have to give
it's
it a-
cool, really cool, guys.
Very keen.
Um,
Give it a listen.
but yeah, nah.
So Swiss,
But yeah.
runes. What do you think's going to happen with runes? I saw you put in one of the
Ooh, yeah.
Telegram chats before. Does anyone hold runes?
Yeah, I just do that to take the piss. But, it's hard to say. Like, I think runes fit the criteria of what Murad talks about a bit more because it's like less liquid but more permanent, if that makes sense. And also it doesn't go to pump.fine, it goes back to Bitcoin. So I just think there's like better, like if you take everything that Murad says, I think runes fit the bill a lot more than all the others, I guess. Maybe not so much ETH, but we'll see. I don't know. I think there's a bit of an identity crisis at the moment. I think there's a lot of big influential people over there that tout that these are the best go-to memes to buy, which I don't agree with. So we'll see. I think Runes is positioned well to like ride the ordinals wave and then sort of catch some innovation bid somewhere at some point. But yeah, I've kind of I don't necessarily think that the top 5 rune coins are something I'd ever hold, especially because like one of them is like an actual Cabal coin, and actually probably they're all Cabal coins, but I think the introduction of layer 2s that support the trading that make it a bit better is good. I think anything that is Bitcoin adjacent in terms of whether it's a layer 2 or a roll up or a sidechain, if they launch their governance token as a rune, I think that's like a pretty good idea as well because it makes it more aligned to like the Bitcoin values and shit like that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit open to whatever scenario comes from these, but I'm not like fully convinced that they're gonna like be the best performing asset to bid, in my opinion.
Makes sense.
Yeah. What about you? What do you think about runes?
I'm not sure. I think like if this breakout happens, like it'll be like that everyone's a genius season. So like doesn't matter sort of like what you've positioned in, it'll tend to do well. But there's probably like a lower allocation amongst natives to runes now that like you'll get those same sort of stories where like I don't know if you remember back in March, April, like when ordinals were taking off, like all of a sudden, like everyone on CT was like in ordinals or whatever. And like you probably get some sort of effect like that soon, or not necessarily soon, but like it's probably more signal than noise as to like where we're at in terms of the cycle, because like it's the capital rotation from like the majors to lower down, further down the risk curve. So I feel like the trade-off between holding BTC or using BTC to buy other things is pretty high right now, given that like BTC is just broken out. So like you don't necessarily want to be holding anything other than BTC on a BTC eco if BTC is moving as much as it's doing. But then when BTC starts ranging, then potentially that's when you start seeing activity on that stuff spike, and there'll be people that got into a Cabal coin early or something that suddenly goes viral and like, oh, look how much money I made from holding go to the moon or something like that. But yeah, it's like it's no different to any other eco with whatever other sub eco stuff that they've got, in my opinion.
With the Bitcoin eco, like the one thing, like, and this is something I just wrote like a feature on it for Cointelegraph magazine. I was chatting with Ellie Ben Sasson of Starkware, and they're essentially creating. They're doing. I was going to say they're doing what Cardano did, but they're actually doing it properly. So Cardano recently was like, "We're a Bitcoin L2." And that was and like Charles Hoskinson saying he nearly cried. I was like, just shut the fuck up. Anyway, anything to stay relevant, I think, because it's a bridge. It literally is a BTC OS. I'm sure some technical person could rinse me for this, but I've looked into it a bit. Like they have UTXO on it, so technically it settles, but it's settling to Cardano, but it's technically on BTC. But yeah, it's essentially a glorified bridge with some like mumbo jumbo on top, and there's nothing like natively built on Bitcoin that operates as like a layer 2, as you would call it, by like Ethereum standards. Like everything still operates by being like essentially having a chain, like a side chain that's run up. It's still like uses Bitcoin, but it still settles natively to the side chain. So I think that, and this is something I've been chatting about with Swiss, I think I might be a little more bullish on it than he is. But OPCat coming through, or OpCat, because it sounds like PopCat, and that's good.
Understand what OpCat is. So
OpCat essentially is Satoshi era like string of code that allows there's all this like other random shit. So Satoshi originally had it in there, and it's short for Operation Concatenate or some shit, and essentially like ties values together, all this complicated bullshit. But essentially what it lets you do is it lets, if they do it the way that they're doing it now, the way that the two guys that have been very much like strongly advertised by the Taproot guys, I've forgotten their exact names, but they're two like old school devs. If they introduce OpCat the way it's done now, you'll be able to have rollups like natively on Bitcoin. So it's expanding Bitcoin TapScript, and it's getting smart contract like functionality on Bitcoin. It's not proper smart contracts. Like you're not going to have what you have on Ethereum, but you will have a lot more functionality on Bitcoin. And so what it will mean is that you can actually have applications and like legitimate like layer 2s built on Bitcoin that like essentially are positively incentivizing use of the Bitcoin network in the long term. And someone that I spoke to was essentially saying like, oh, it's not just like a cool like upgrade thing. It's actually this like kind of think of it as like a life raft for the Bitcoin network in the long term. Because at the moment you have Bitcoin, the big problem with it is on a long enough time span, how does it sustain itself? Like unless its price perfectly doubles every 4 years, it's not going to be, miners can't do it forever. And that's something that I think Taleb pointed out fairly. It was like one of the rare, not one of the rare, but like one of the smaller things that he really got right was like, how do you incentivize securing the Bitcoin network over 20, 30, 40, 50 years? Because it's like once miner revenue drops, you're going to be relying on transaction fees. And then it's like, well, okay, like unless people are like legitimately using the Bitcoin network and paying $500 a transaction fee X thousand times a day, there's going to be no like incentive to maintain it. And so what OpCat does is it introduces something that can drive up fees and actually make the Bitcoin network used at a level that positively incentivizes the idle use of just like passive Bitcoin that would otherwise be sitting there because it's on Bitcoin. And I think this is the big problem at the moment is that the side chains they're not offering like enough in the way of security for like traditional Bitcoiners to think like, yeah, I want to earn yield on my Bitcoin. But if you could earn yield on Bitcoin, natively on Bitcoin, ta-da, problem solved. So that's the fucking turbo bull case for OpCat. Is essentially smart contract-ish roll-ups and just like native applications on the Bitcoin network that actually settle to the main net instead of using kind of like a proof of transfer or having some kind of like two-way peg or a bridge. So that's OpCat.
Fuck yeah.
Nice.
It's interesting. Never heard of it.
Sorry. It's a very fucking 10 minutes fucking later. Yeah.
I've never heard of it before.
Stop loss.
So
entry,
probably not for another 12 months. So we'll see.
Interesting.
It starts to get approved. And Bitcoin devs are not known for being like, woohoo, let's do more shit on Bitcoin. But like a lot of the big, like Starkware introduced that they've put out a $1 million research grant for it of like, if you can find any reasons why this can't go through, we'll give you a portion of this $1 million, and then we can build up like essentially a bug bounty on a soft fork.
That's pretty
Nice.
cool. That's pretty
That's cool.
So that's kind of cool.
I rate that.
So yeah.
So,
yeah.
what do we speculate on outside of majors right now, or is it just like the majors party for a bit?
What do we speculate on? Well, I have a 20k market cap shitcoin. I think would be.
I put a panda on a launch about 3 hours ago. A Chinese panda, no Shilio. Not giving
Chinese panda.
Yeah, no Shilio. But nah, I'm just
No Shilio. It sticks. You get
I'm not
I feel like
Shilio. It's too low pack to chill.
I feel like an actual crack addict when I see people on the timeline post like a picture of a meme, and then I DM them and I'm like, "Hey man, I need that CA." I'm like, oh, Jesus. I'm like, oh my god, this is the equivalent of like crawling along the street, being like, "Hey man, I'm good for it.
like,
Please."
I have like nearly half my portfolio in Nvidia. So if ever all my Q animals go to zero, at least I'm left with something.
Yeah, nice. That Nvidia trade
But,
is like super interesting, Sticks. I do find
Yeah, I thought I like top blasted it at like, I think I bought it like I started buying it like, I don't know, like 115 or something, some shit like that, and then I bought a bit more of it, and then they did like earnings and it like went down. I'm like, I missed. I literally bought the Pico top of Nvidia, but no, it's gone up. So
it's
market can stay irrational for a long
I
time.
just thought of something too, actually, which is interesting. I wonder what level of Bitcoin staking yield versus arbing a funding rate on an exchange, like if there would be
ooh, yeah.
what the cost benefit analysis of that would be, because I guess the benefit of the arbing the funding rate is that you actually hold the underlying asset on the exchange without actually giving it up to get yield, while you short the perp and get the funding over a sustained period of time, or if the staking or yield bearing opportunity for a opcat enabled future would be better. That's just something that just popped into my mind. I actually don't know what the probable outcome of that would be, but I just
Not gonna lie, Swiss, I don't even know what you just meant by that.
No,
My IQ is not high enough. I was like, what?
so like if you had a Bitcoin native yield, which the yield would obviously have to be something to do with the L2 settlements or something to that effect, because you'd be staking to provide security to whatever L2. I take it that's what would be my imagination of maybe how you would generate a Bitcoin native yield. But like the perp yield thing is like what Athena is based on, where you like buy spot, short the perp in equal size such that you collect the funding rate, because funding rates on average tend to be more positive than negative. And so if you had like 100 BTC and you shorted 100 BTC and the funding rate was like 0.02%, annualized at the 8-hour intervals, then that works out to be like 8, 10, 20% a year in funding. And obviously when Bitcoin heats up in terms of funding rates, which are still super low right now, then that yield becomes like really massive. Yeah, funding right now is
okay,
really, really low. I'll just pull up a screen like this.
what's the read on Bitcoin funding being low?
Good, because like if you look back in March or even December last year, like Bitcoin like hit these like pretty crazy funding rates, where you can see the orange, and I've like dialed back the color slider here, which like on fucking what's it called, CoinGlass. So I normally do that just to sort of highlight where these like peak periods of mania were, and they line up quite significantly where like things felt frothy, so like pre-Christmas and then in March as well. But like you see Bitcoin now, like everything for the past few months has been like pretty low. Like the hottest stuff right now in terms of funding is like Pepe and Mudeng and Popcat. Everything else is pretty low in terms of like funding rates. So if you like look at it from like the past 3 months, you can see it a bit deeper, but like Pepe, Popcat, like that's where generally people are paying a lot of money to be long the asset, whereas like everything else is pretty low in funding. So like it's not super flashy.
Moodang is hot. Damn.
You tend to get this with like with newer coins, and like the
Yeah.
funding rate needs to equate with like a high enough price action to the upside, like if it's going to be this hot. So like if you're going to pay 46% in funding, you need to be making significant gains on that coin overall, in order to like outweigh the leverage that you're taking on it. Obviously like spot and chill bros don't need to worry about this shit, but like remember, I think the last pod, Tom, you talked about tier like having that huge unlock.
Yeah.
So you could see like prior to the unlock how deeply negative the funding was because people were shorting it. It was either people were shorting it or people were hedging a position. And then you can see after that unlock, like it's just been like flat basically. So like people were either speculating on the unlock, or people had like a massive like hedge position on their tier. And then once the unlock happened, they unwound those hedges, and then that like neutralized the funding rate back to where it was. But yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is interesting.
I think the only downside with funding, and this is probably more apparent in conditions that are less liquid. So if you look at like the collapse of like FTX, that was like so like terrible that probably a lot of participants left the market. So like the idea of like arbing the funding rate only makes sense when people see a dislocation in the market so much that they would prefer to like borrow money to go long because they have such a strong belief. So I'd imagine that like arbing a funding rate in the future gets a little bit harder given that markets might get a little bit more efficient.
Correct.
And you're actually kind of relying on an imbalance of more people wanting to long the contracts than short, and that's why you get the funding rate imbalance. And so like there could be a period of time where that could go down, but like I think because not everyone, I think that this arb is already like done with like Athena and shit, so you'd probably see through like Athena if they're like pardon me, if their yield starts to drop off because of the market efficiency. But yeah, so I would just want to caveat that as well. I think that it's not always a clear-cut case that you just buy a Bitcoin and then short the perp and then you'll get like infinite money glitch. I only think it occurs once the landscape sort of permits such a great opportunity to arb that.
It was only really beneficial like where during this like little period here where it was hot. But like the other thing, exactly to your point, was Athena launched probably back in April, I think it was, and that dynamic really hasn't really seen itself played out yet, like in a hotter condition, like we're potentially going into now. So like potentially the funding rate on Bitcoin, because Athena exists now, doesn't appear as being overheated because the more Athena stablecoins get minted because there's more BTC price appreciation. So then there's like the theory that like there's going to be like a hotter funding rate, and because Athena exists, it brings the funding rate down because there's such a huge short position on Athena's side because they're trying to arb the funding rate. So maybe without Athena right now, this funding rate on Bitcoin would look a lot hotter than it actually does. But I would have expected that if that was the case, then you would see that sort of trickle down into other assets. But like the other assets don't look that hot either. But I do think like in the next few months or next 12 months, a year, 2 years, whatever, however long this cycle wants to play out, that Athena effect won't really be as obvious until later. So like potentially we'll think, oh my God, funding's still so low and Bitcoin is $120,000. What the hell? But maybe that's because Athena is like a data point that you need to start paying attention to. And
I agree with that as well. I think there's going to be some information edge there. Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Because like, what's the thing, right? Like markets get efficient over time, and like people learnt things last cycle, and people use data points that they go, oh, last cycle this happened, so therefore next cycle I want to look for these same things to happen, so then I can make like some sort of edge out of it. But then because markets get efficient, there's obviously a consortium of people that realize the same thing, and then so when they're looking for that data point to like pop up again, they go, oh my god, this hasn't happened yet, so therefore I still need to maintain being long, and then like everything just fucking rugs. And then you go, what the fuck, how did I miss this? And then it's because X, Y, and Z changed and the market became more efficient. So
Yeah.
It's all priced in.
everything is priced in.
It was
What
priced
else,
in. It was always
what else
priced in. Yes.
What else are the bros bullish on? What do you show me some bags to buy? Come on.
Again, I have a 20K market cap shit at now.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think ticker Bitcoin, honestly, I feel like it's,
Especially with ETH, it goes up.
yeah, I just don't think it's had like its moment in the sun yet. Like obviously I'm still surprised like SPX has held this like 80-cent level. And I'm still sad that I sold my largest portion of SPX at like 68 cents when I could have sold it at $1. But anyway, profit's profit.
Profit is profit.
But I don't know, like I'm finding it hard to make any sort of new beliefs on different coins. Like the meme coin trade is so tiring, like I'm kind of over it, but
Yeah. I get what you mean.
and like positioning in majors is still like kind of like hard as well. Like I don't know, like I definitely, I don't know, maybe Lido. I hate it, but like it could just be one of those contrarian sort of plays because it was
I
like
think
so bullish last.
I think if you want to do ETH, because I think Trump is actually bullish for ETH in general. But I think
Liberty Financial.
I think it's like he's used ETH and like he has ETH, and it's like, well, ETH's down bad, so it could people probably bid it now. But I think just holding like raw ETH as much as it pains most people to do, or just buy like the meme coins. I don't really know which coins on ETH. Like, what's that grass token? That coin's gone up a lot.
What the fuck?
Yeah, dude.
What the fuck? Like, that went to like $4 last night.
Yeah, I sold it at
it's the AI
$1.80.
spyware.
I mean, it's probably popped as I'm saying it, but yeah, it's pretty funny.
I sold it.
Yeah, I did not know.
You know what? How
I
are you
still
supposed to know? Because every single airdrop has been like yeeted into existence.
I just can't believe the
Since
FTV on this thing. It's like insane. Like it
Bull
is.
market's back, baby.
Yeah. What about you, Swiss? What are you bullish on?
As I said at the start of before we started recording, I feel like once markets sort of make up their mind which direction it goes, it gets a little bit more relaxing. So I'm probably not going to make it off that alone, but I think anything that is a legit project that is capturing like an innovative space with a white paper and like a semi-decent team, I think those things, it's like it was said a lot in the last cycle, but like getting to know people or founders of like projects that are like low valuation that you think can just do well given the nature of what business they do is where I'm sort of betting. So I'll tell you one of them because the other one, I reckon if anyone actually bought, you would like fuck the market cap, and I don't want to shill like a low ticker. But one of the biggest things I'm super bullish on, and I will probably FUD myself out on any sort of pump because I just kind of think that buying utility is a bit hard, is Liquidium. So Liquidium is a runes, ordinals, and BRC20 lending and borrowing protocol. It's the only like utility coin currently outside of a few stablecoin projects on runes, and I've sort of like sized into that pretty heavily at the current valuation because I just think that in the future, I think the protocols that can capture a lot of the ordinals and runes volume will be quite successful, because I don't think those tokens will get exchange listings as easily. So like that's why I'm like a huge believer of like Magic Eden being a cook, in the sense that I like rate Magic Eden for what they've been able to achieve with ordinals and runes, because of where they've come from and everything like that. So, you know, hopefully they're a thriving business off you know, generating revenue for themselves from that activity. And Liquidium seems to be doing pretty good. I think I just commented on something on my timeline just then, that I think 40% of all runes activity just recently was all done on Liquidium. And so pretty bullish that. So we'll see. It might just not even go anywhere because it's not a meme. But I'm happy to kind of like size into that, being like, well, it's there, it's a rune, it's going to capture a lot of attention, hopefully, and it's got a revenue generating business model. So yeah, so hopefully that does all right.
I really liked Liquidium until I saw Frank D Gods was a founder backed by.
Yeah, also Thread Guy is
Also
an
Thread
angel
Guy.
as well. Yeah, I remember sending that to like Dark with like no context, and I was like, would you aim a project with these people in it? And he's like, I think CMS Holdings is in it as well.
That's CMS is in
from
it.
memory.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you got it up on the screen?
I do.
Or is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I
Cool.
sharing screen with you guys? Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so
Yeah.
CMS is in it. There's quite a few like good people in it, but yeah, holy Frank D Gods. Like that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a meme, but yeah.
He's better at rotating than I am.
Yeah, and so I think these guys will do well. Yeah, there it is. Total loan volume. Total value locked is like 11 mil.
Yeah.
The actual market cap of this thing is like
1
I
million.
think.
Yeah,
it shows the FDV
is 15
on.
mil. Yep. CoinGecko.
Yeah, so I rate it. I rate this bet. To be fair, like I'll be honest with you guys, when I started DCAing in on the only exchange that I could really get access to, which is Gate.io, I actually like moved the price up by like 15%. So like if you go to the
chart here.
3 month,
It's only because Swiss's size is size. Why?
Yeah, and then if you look at that first peak, that one there, yeah, that was me. That was my buying. And so I recommend people just realizing that this thing is a liquid. I do actually hold like a large bag, and I'm really nervous because I won't be able to sell it, because if I get out of it, you'll probably see it on the chart, because I'll just decide to like sell it in all one clip. But I am a general believer of this project. I think what they're doing is good, and I think 40% of all runes volume after runes has hit like 70% of all Bitcoin volume. I think that's like huge for these guys. So that's probably another conviction bag I have. The other one is I'm bullish on Ticket Bitcoin. I think my whole thesis on this is that it was the only thing that made me laugh during the bear market. I thought it was hilarious. If you look at the chart, it's had such a battle-tested sort of understanding. I think it's going to do well. My target's $1. Like, I'm happy with like a 4x or whatever it's going to be in the end, and then just like rotate it back into ETH. But I just think it's like, I think it's also going to get utilized in a couple of other projects on ETH, and I think it's a pretty good brand. I'm really sad that I sold pretty much all of my Sprotos, because now they're sitting at 3 ETH, and I got them for a free mint.
Yeah,
So I've only got one left.
Holy shit.
I think ETH beta is probably a good idea. I think, trying to think what else I hold. I think that's it. Just like there's that other project that I won't mention, because if you buy it, you actually like fuck the market cap, and I don't think it's fair to just shill liquid garbage on here. But
DM Swiss for more info. Paid group.
Look, if people are generally interested in, oh no, it's not even worth it, because there's no like hint in regard to what it actually is. But yeah, ETH beta would be good. And then yeah, Ticket Bitcoin and Liquidium are probably my favorite ones at the moment.
Nice.
Yeah, I am long. I had a theory that like BTC dominance would go to like 74% before an alt season, because I think
What's it at now?
It's 59.
So I had a huge
59.
sell-off, yeah, and so I posted in my Discord. I was like, someone asked where it would go. I was like 74%, and then I like checked the chart and I saw it dumped on the Trump win, and I was like,
What did it get
oh.
to?
60.5. 60.6.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
still
I thought
think it's
the- I
possible,
thought-
though.
I don't know anymore, to be honest. I think with the Trump administration, I think it's a bit different now. I think ETH is probably going to limit that upside, but I am also long BTC with perps currently as well. So that's my little shill. I'm also on the pre-rich app, farming some soul shitters and having fun there, trying to get into that groove a little bit more.
About that.
And I'm enjoying that. Shout out to Pixel and his platform.
Pre-rich app is sick.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. It's made soul shitcoining just a little bit more fun, in my opinion. So, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
me.
I probably should go have some lunch. I'm fucking starving. Haven't really eaten.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry for
same.
rambling, boys.
No, that was
No,
good.
no.
That was good. Some good
Good.
alpha.
Fucking yeah, definitely. That was sick.
Sweet.
A lot of things I didn't know.
Should we leave it there?
I think it's a
Yeah.
good place to wrap it up.
Nice.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. Apologies about the little hiccup midway. I will be getting a new laptop next week that I spent with my XPX profits, so things should be a lot smoother. But yeah, appreciate it. Like and subscribe on YouTube, please, and follow us on Twitch, Sanko, all of the above. We really appreciate y'all tuning in, and yeah, peace.